without charge behind bars are now starving. A hunger strike at Guantanamo Bay has been joined by nearly all the inmates, intent on bringing attention to the dismal and deteriorating conditions at the facility. Guards there have allegedly been abusing inmates and threatening to return the prison to, quote, the darkest days under Bush. Well, let's get more on this strike now with investigative journalist Andy Worthington. He specialises on Guantanamo Bay. Andy, some inmates are reportedly so sick they're coughing up blood. Others are being hospitalised and force-fed. Just how bad is this strike getting, do you think?
Well, it sounds very bad, you know, and the problem that we have is that on the one hand we have the lawyers for the men talking about how over 100 of the remaining 166 men are on a hunger strike, and that this strike started last month. And on the other hand, we have the Obama administration apparently claiming that there isn't really much going on. So that's not really helping us to get any clarity. But of course, that's always been the problem with Guantanamo, is that this is a very opaque facility, however much the administration, first of all Bush and now Obama, has tried to pretend that they're open about what's happening there. And this really isn't true. And really, you know, there is an enormous sense of despair amongst the Guantanamo prisoners. We've got over half the men who were told years ago that they were going to be released, who are still held. We've got other men who were designated for indefinite detention, which is a terrible thing anyway. But Obama issued an executive order authorizing that, but promising that their cases would be reviewed, and they haven't had their cases reviewed. The men there must feel like they're just in a living tomb.
So what will this hunger strike achieve, do you think?
Well, it's already achieving, I imagine, part of what the purpose is, which is to let the outside world know that it's not acceptable for these men to be held forever, with nobody making any moves to release them, even though, as I say, over half of them have been cleared for release, that they've been forgotten, and they've been primarily forgotten by the United States government, by the United States media, and by the American people. And that's really not acceptable. So, you know, we are talking about it here. I noticed that this is filtering out gradually into the mainstream media and is getting the issue discussed. Because clearly the situation that we've had for some time now is that President Obama can't really be bothered to overcome opposition in Congress, can't really be bothered to try and secure a decent legacy for himself by revisiting his failed promise to close the prison. Everyone's forgotten about it.
But what about the issue of human rights, though, from Obama's point of view? Isn't that of a concern to him? What about the issue of human rights for Obama? Isn't that of concern?
Well, I mean, it should be of concern. I mean, the president claims that the legislation passed under Bush just after the 9/11 attacks authorizes the detention of prisoners, and that therefore it's acceptable for these men to be held. But it isn't acceptable. You know, these are still men who aren't held either as prisoners of war according to the Geneva Conventions or as criminal suspects who are going to face a trial. Nearly all of the men in Guantanamo are effectively still held as enemy combatants. The Bush administration's plan was to hold people forever without ever having to justify objectively why they were being held. That's effectively the situation.
But one of the reasons they are saying is that, of course, these people are held because the intelligence gathered at Guantanamo has indeed saved American lives and terrorist attacks throughout the world. Isn't that a justification?
No, I think that's nonsense. I mean, the United States authorities have never officially claimed that any more than a few dozen of the people that they've held were people with any connection to terrorism. There has been no actual evidence provided that the torture of prisoners led to any information that actually foiled terrorist attacks. What they're left with here is a problem of mostly of detaining people either who have, been horribly abused throughout their 11 years in custody. Primarily, it's opposition within Congress and inactivity in the administration to clear up this terrible, terrible mess that was left by the Bush administration. And it's now Obama's prison. It's very much a place where he's not doing anything about it. The people held there, as I say, the majority of them who are supposed to be released, who are still being held, that's a terrible indictment the way that President Obama is behaving. And it seems to be down to the prisoners to make the world aware of the situation.
Well, and the likes of you, investigative journalists, the media obviously paying attention to what's happening. Would perhaps that have any influence over Obama? After all, he did promise to close it down back in 2009. Do you think this sort of international pressure will have an effect on his decision?
I hope so. I mean, what it needs to be backed up by is for sustained reporting about this, And then I would hope for representatives of other governments to try and put pressure on the United States. Maybe the home countries of the people who are held in Guantanamo need to start putting more pressure on. As it stands, lawyers for the prisoners have been trying to go to the American Commission on Human Rights, which doesn't have power over the United States, but is at least a venue where they can raise these issues. Because sadly, the United States is not answerable to anybody about its behavior. And I think what we're seeing with Guantanamo is a problem that, this is an American problem that they don't want to have to deal with because there isn't internally in the United States enough of political capital in it. So, yeah, the rest of the world needs to stay.
Just very finally, briefly, are we going to see people die here? Are they actually threatening their own lives? They're that desperate, just briefly.
I very much don't see people die, but clearly what's going to happen in the case of a sustained hunger strike like this, with some of these men who are obviously in a very weak state, is that that's very much a reality.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Andy Worthington, investigative journalist, joining us live there in London. Thanks for your time.